Hello everyone, this is Korosh Erfani and today is Monday, March 13th, 2026. We are reporting the 31st day of the war of Israel and the United States against Iran. This is the beginning of the second month. I would like to start with several breaking news, according to which there are more and more strikes by Israelis and also Americans over Iran. Some of them are such that President Trump here even decided to post them, talking about something horrible that is happening because this is what they wanted, right? From the beginning, the objective of Israel was to get to such situation. This is in Isfahan. As you can see, they are bombing the munition depots of the army in Isfahan. Okay, so I remind that here. You remember leadership, system essential, infrastructure, and population, and then fielded forces. So this is almost the beginning of dismantling completely what it remains from the Iranian military forces. At the same time, the destruction of infrastructure and killing the people continues. Also here we have a news about more than 1,100 airstrikes just within 24 hours, targeting Tehran, the capital, and hitting camps, warehouse, factories, infrastructure, government headquarters. So as you can see, this model is getting completed, at the same time for several levels of infrastructures, system, government essentials, population, field forces. Everywhere they are destroying and killing the people by bombing. Even as you can see here, for example, just a milk company very known in Iran under the name of Precision Strike. So without any doubt, Israel is carrying out the Gaza doctrine in Iran. In order to do that, of course, it has the support of the U.S. Air Force. So the targets are fixed and designed by Israel, and then both air forces of Israel and the United States are carrying out everything that's necessary in order to destroy completely Iran. So the idea is to drag this war on as long as necessary in order to finish the job. And the job is just to bring back Iran to the Stone Age, right? This is what they wanted from the beginning. All the stories that they said about nuclear or terrorism and so on was just a cover, and they wanted to annihilate completely Iran, and they are doing so. On the other hand, as you can see, Iran, of course, is hitting back here and there Israel, but mainly Iran is also destroying the Arab countries and the Persian Gulf. Iranian regime, don't forget, that is full of the Israeli agents. We have many of the Iranian leaders who are crypto-Hebrew. They are Jews, but apparently converted into Islam. They are not really Muslim. they are Jews, and they have positions in all the structure of power and also in the military commandership. So that's why there is no doubt that one part of the Iranian regime is collaborating with Israeli in such a way that they can destroy completely the competing Arab countries, even though we cannot consider Arab countries of the Persian Gulf as the enemies of Israel, but competing forces, right? So Iran is doing this job for Israel, and Israel is doing the main job on Iran. Meanwhile, Iran is sending a few missiles and drones toward Israel with limited damages, very controlled, because now that we have more than 2,000 Iranian killed during this war, the number of the people who died for any reason during this war in Israel is just 19 for more than 2,000 people. And I'm not talking about the huge number of injured or wounded. So the points, the number of points that have been bombed in Iran now is something around 100,000 points, 100,000 units or locations that have been completely destroyed. And of course, in order to push back Iran to Stone Age, to 500 years ago, Israel needs the United States to bomb the infrastructures, right? And of course, they are getting ready for that, and they will do it in the coming days or hours, we don't know. But as soon as the order comes from Israel, the United States has to execute and start to bomb all the infrastructures of the Iranian. As you can see, Iranian regime doesn't have any defense system now, so that's why all the activities during half a century by the Iranian government had been oriented toward just having little capability, offensive capability, but nothing for defensive capacity, right? And that's the result. Now, any airplanes, any jet fighters of the United States or Israel is going there and acting as they want. So that's the depth of the influence of the crypto Jew in the Iranian regime, and channeling effectively all the monies, resources, and activities towards something that is completely the equivalent of a deficiency, right? Because Iran now doesn't have any real defense system, and this is what Israel always wanted, in order to have the free hands to bomb everything, but absolutely everything in Iran. And as you can see right now, just in 1 month, 100,000 targets had been destroyed. If we want to calculate it in terms of money, the financial aspect, we are talking about a few hundred of billions of dollars very soon. If we add infrastructures that are going to be bombed very soon, we are going to touch several hundreds of billions of dollars. So Iran will be destroyed almost completely based on this behind-the-scene cooperation or collaboration between the Zionist entity and the Zionist elements of the Iranian regime. And after that, we are going to have a real catastrophe in Iran, because that would be a country with 93 million Iranians plus 5 to 6, 7 million immigrants over there, like the the Afghans, for example, and we are going to have 100 million people without power, without water, without communication, phone communication, internet communication, nothing. So that would be a real catastrophe. And from that moment, we can have effectively the war immigration toward the other countries, causing the regional issues with Turkey, with Iraq, with other countries of the Central Asia, and this is what Israel needs in order to, make the conflict regional. Not only for the Arab countries, but also other countries involving Pakistan, involving totally Iraq, and outmost of all the countries, Turkey, of course. This is the Zionist plan that is getting executed by the United States in the region because of the Epstein file, right? And we are going to talk about the consequences of such a plan over there. But to conclude just this first part, I would like to draw your attention that when you hear many analysts and the respected figures, the respected public figures that are talking about Iran getting to a victory or the American getting completely lost in this war, okay, we can have the rhetoric that they want, but the facts are there, and the facts can be summarized in one thing if we want to draw a conclusion. The total destruction of Iran. This is the main objective of this operation, this war, which is an endless war. Don't forget that. Don't look for any end soon or later for this war. This is a war that is set, in motion by Israel in order to, destroy Iran, then Pakistan, then Turkey, then the whole Middle East, and then the Central Asia, and so on and so on. So we are talking about the final plan of the Zionists for the world. And it started in 1948, but we have been, somehow distracted by I don't know what exactly, and we let this monster taking shape, and now it's powerful enough in order to put an end, to the life of the human species on Earth. It takes time. I explain you today in this presentation even how it is going to happen, but don't forget that the plan is there. Even though there are many gray areas in this theory, that the Zionists are there in order to vanish completely the human species, but we can see that step by step the plans are going on. That's a project, that's a strategy in stages, and grade by grade you can see that everything is moving forward in order to put an end to the presence of the human species on this planet. Now, don't forget that we have a bunch of people who are I don't know how to qualify them, moron, criminal, pedophile, psychopath, but a combination of all of them, right? You have the worst people that the human history could bring about, right? All together as the Zionist entity, and here as the Trump administration. You have the nastiest, filthiest criminals together in order to finish the job. This is the Financial Times reporting that Pete Hegseth's broker look to buy defense fund before Iran attack. So they are waging the war in order to make millions, and why not billions, as the Secretary of War. There is no more Secretary of Defense, so Secretary of War Department, right? So these people are there, and they have an agenda, and they want really the same guy, the same alcoholic pedophile guy, is now talking about, greater North America. Greater North America. It's a concept of dominating everything from Greenland here, through the Panama Canal. So that's the, as Greater Israel, that's the Greater North America. And don't forget that Greater North America is the future Greater Israel, because Israel is planning at least to take over of the United States later, thanks to Epstein file and other things. So these people, these crazy people, were there in order to put an end to the human species on Earth. They don't have anything to hide now. They say everything very clearly, but it's so gross that the people don't want to believe. It's so unimaginable that these monsters are telling us that we are here in order to root you out, to root humanity out. We don't want to believe. Look, she's telling us. She says that we negotiate with anyone, and when we are not satisfied, we kill you. Karen Levitt. If we don't like the way you negotiate, we will kill you. So there is nothing hidden. There is nothing covered anymore. And everybody is talking about that. But the problem is that now we have only and only the corrupt politicians. Here, for example, Senator Jeff Markley is talking about the Republicans. Okay, he's Democrats and he's talking about the Republicans. He said the Republicans are hiding. If you can't stand up for the values you are sworn to protect, then resign and get the hell out. Let that sink in. What does it mean? These are the sayings of Jeff Merkley, Senator Jeff Merkley, that I am quoting. They are supporting this strongman destruction of our Constitution. They are hiding from the American people. So we know that now when he is talking about the Republican, it means that mercenaries of AIPAC, right? It means those who are either Zionists or in the service of Zionists. It's as easy as that. Now there is nothing to hide. Everybody is talking about. Another one, Senator Chris Coons. So confirms Israel intentionally assassinated the exact Iranian leader the Trump administration was trying to negotiate peace with. Israel deliberately sabotaged diplomacy to trap Washington in an endless war. Now, this is what the people are saying very clearly, evidently, right? And why? Because now the domination of Zionists over the United States is something that nobody can deny, actually, right? All right. Just imagine what they are preparing for, on the other hand, 1 million Iranian that will be going in a few weeks into the hell, and that would be the real explosion within the Middle East, and you will see how the whole world will pay the highest price for that. And on the other hand, they are preparing a hell for 340 million Americans here. those who are the economists or the economic analysts are talking about something interesting because of just this war that Israel wanted so much, right? The war of total destruction of Iran. So they are telling us that get ready for something interesting, a combination of these. Look, the 2020 lockdowns, you remember in such a misery economy and society were at that time, right? Then they remind 2008 credit bubble, another economic crisis at that time. 2001 tech bubble, the internet bubble, and then 9/11, of course. Then 1970s oil shock. Now the crisis that is coming, it's equivalent of all of them wrapped into one. So when they want to compare another period of time in the American history, just to give an idea, it's what we got in the Great Depression of 1929. So which means that something extremely bad is coming. Here, that's the Atlantic talking about welcome to a multi-dimensional economic disaster. And this is something that Americans are going to experience for the first time, because everything that the common generations, the living generations, the current generations or living generations have had as experience is either one based on the age, either is 2020 lockdowns or 2008 credit bubble for those who are a little older, 2001 tech bubble, or for the elderly people, 1970s oil shock, right? They can remember all of this. But here it's a matter of all of them, together, combined. So nobody remind Great Depression of 1929 except in the books of history, right? But the Americans are going to have something that is much worse than each of these cases that they can have one or two of them as experience of their lifespan. This is what is waiting for the American economy, right? And we are talking about a huge problems that starts to be visible. This is what had been completely wiped out today from the U.S. stocks, 1,300,000,000,000. Why? Because there is no more stability. Here we have the confirmation that Japan is going to have an emergency, and they are deciding about selling, which means dumping completely 620 billions of US ETFs and treasury bills, to support their own market. 620 billions, which means if this decision is taken and Japan is actually going to do so, that would be a huge blow to the US market here tomorrow and in the coming days. Look at the situation of the dollars right now. So US dollars share of global foreign currency reserves have fallen to its lowest level this century. Can you believe that? That's the share of the US dollars in the global foreign currency, which means that other currencies are getting effectively much more attention of the banks and markets and stakeholders here and there to convert their money, US dollars, into another currency. Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chair, is telling us that the U.S. national debt is growing substantially faster than the economy, and says it's not sustainable, just not sustainable. And I quote, "It will not end well if we do not something fairly soon." And I'm pretty sure that there is nothing that will be done soon. Not only because nobody wants that, because nobody can do that, right? There is nothing that remains. Don't forget that we are talking about almost $40 trillion of national debt in a few months, 1-2 months, and we are talking about getting to a level where it's a matter of having $1 trillion as the interest of this debt. $1 trillion just for paying the interest. So we are going to have something like $2, $3, $4 trillion adding up to this, 39 or $40 trillion every year. So it's a completely broken economy. Now, is it really important for those who are creating this situation? My answer is no. Even though apparently, if we take the situation at face value, it's the responsibility to do something, the responsibility of Trump, for example. But look at how ridiculous is this statement that the Trump is responsible for doing something for this situation. It's ridiculous, right? You have to listen to the interview of George Napolitano with Professor Jeffrey Sachs today, and he is almost, Professor Sachs is almost crying, by saying that this is an outcry, really, saying that I don't know, those who are in charge of this country, they don't want to take care of this stupid, I don't know, moron, lawyer, clinically psychopath. He doesn't have any understanding of what is going on in the reality of the world. Just in order to shed light on what he's doing, Trump is doing. Can you imagine that in the middle of an interview with journalists regarding what's going on in Iran for the Strait of Hormuz, so after giving a few lies, total, complete lies to them, to the reporters, he was talking about the ballrooms in the White House, East Wing, and the things like that. So he's playing out, with the people, with the reporters, with medias, with the world. He must be right now hospitalized, in the specialized institution as a completely fooled, insane person. And you see that it's not the case. It's not the case for Trump, and with reference to his boss, it's not the case for another clinically insane Netanyahu. And these fool people, these completely foolish persons, they are setting fire to the world. Believe me or not, they are going to do that. This is how I summarized in my tweet, the situation. The title is "Israel had been created to cause World War III." You remember that Israel was created in 1948, just after the Second World War, which has been created also, has been generated and triggered by Zionists, right? So Israel has in charge the preparation of the condition for triggering the World War III. It's working on that right now, something like 78 years. Right, 78 years Israel was looking for the opportunity in order to trigger this war. And right now, through the war of Israel and its mercenary United States against Iran, they are getting close to that. So look at how it's going to work. I said get ready for the US military impasse. This is a complete impasse or a standstill crafted by Israel. Israel created this, right? Israel knew exactly what is the capacity of the Iranian to answer, to fight back against an attack, an aggression, right? So that's why Israel has calculated that, because it has almost all the information that was necessary to do these calculations. As I told you, the body of the politicians in Iran, the political body was full of the crypto Hebrew. The people who are directly for decades working with Israel, for Israel, and the service of Israel at the top level of the political structure in Iran, including, for example, you remember President of Islamic Republic, Ahmadinejad. All of them are crypto Hebrew. All of them are Jews in the service of Israel and Zionism. He was president for 8 years, and he made in such a way that something like $1 trillion of the Iranian assets could be transferred to the banks where the Zionists have had access to this money. This is how Iran get where it is right now in the way of becoming new Gaza, a big Gaza. All right. The tweet says, get ready for U.S. military impasse crafted by Israel, which will force Washington to, first, bomb infrastructures and power plants in Iran. This is what is going to happen. It has already, begun, but it will continue and intensify in the coming days. So that's the first step. Second, send boots on the ground. This is also a part of the Israeli plan that the United States must realize because of Epstein file. And third, nuke Iran. This is at the end of the thing that is going to happen. So what would be the result? The first case will trigger the destruction of Iran and the Arab countries in the region. Right now you see the setting is such that Israel is destroying Iran and Iran is destroying the Arab countries. That's the clever plan and agenda of the Zionists, and it's working. The second case, which means send boots on the ground, will generate riots, uprising, and civil war in the United States. This is one of the things that Israel wants, bringing down and falling apart completely the American empire, because it doesn't need that anymore as in the past. And now Israel wants to redefine everything, including the role of the United States, not anymore as the superpower, but as a parasite of the new superpower, which will be the greater Israel. So, and the third, the nuke will be something extremely bad if it happens, because it will cause the nuclear World War III. I know that there are many people who are very skeptic, regarding the idea of a nuclear war. But I am telling you that there are more and more proof that we are going there. I will give you a few examples so that you can have an idea about this. This guy is Giudo Crosetto. He is Italy's defense minister. He said something interesting today. He said that he knows things about war with Iran that no longer let him sleep. He said that because of my position, I have to study the files and the reports, and one of them make me, deprive of my sleep. Why? Because something extremely bad is going to happen. So he said the economic consequences of this war will soon make big crisis where? In Europe. We were talking about the Middle East, Asia, and then United States. He is talking about Europe. So he knows that one of the plan is effectively to nuke Iran, and that's why the poor guy cannot sleep anymore. Here, you have a very dangerous revelation by Mohammad Safa, a diplomat affiliated with the United Nations. He has resigned with the explosive claim, stating this: I am sacrificing my career to let the world know that the United States is preparing for a possible nuclear attack on Iran. Okay, these are the people like the previous one, this one. These are the people who know the things, right? So he's sacrificing completely his career in order to get the attention of the public that the Americans are getting ready under the order of the Zionist Israelis to go and to nuke Iran. Right? This is what's going to happen. Another one, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, a very informed person, was that a nuclear war between Iran and Israel is, quote, inevitable, unquote, inevitable, unavoidable, right? So he's talking about the possibility of having an nuclear strike and the consequent or the subsequent escalation and getting to the World War III. So that's why in my in my tweet I am talking about this gloomy, darky, murky, deadly future planned by the anti-human entity of Israel, which is World War III. So did we have time to prevent that, to thwart that? So the time to prevent it was lost since 1948. That's the date the Zionists started this project of triggering the nuclear World War III, and right now we are in a few just days or weeks away from that. So that's why I think if we neglected an opportunity of 78 years, of course we are going to miss also a few days or weeks for that. But let me develop now, because we are talking about the nuclear war and the nuclear disappearance of the human species on Earth. Let me show you something interesting. Look, there is a kind of competition right now. There is not only nuclear war. If you think that the only possibility to put an end to the life of any living beings on this planet is just nuclear war, no, you are making a huge mistake. Let me present another one, a competitor for doing the same job. Here, The question is, which one will put an end to life on earth sooner? Now it's not question of if we are going to put an end. No, it's a fact. It's unavoidable, right? If you think that you can avoid one of these, another one will do the job. Because we don't have right now enough resources to prevent even one of these, let alone both. We cannot stop the possibility of having a nuclear war because of Zionism, because of Israel from 1948. We don't have any chance anymore. It's 78 years late now. Regarding the climate change, it's completely done, guys. You know what's interesting? This is not a discovery. This is just the basic, obvious facts I am talking about. Not only nuclear war is there as an alternative for the climate change to end life on our planet. Now we have another competitors, thanks to Israel. Again, everything comes from those guys. Here we have now another competitor. This is almost a third alternative for having this apocalyptic situation, which is the incremental conventional wars effects. Okay? Like what exactly? Like all the wars that Israel have been waging from its existence in 1948. Like all the wars that United States has been waging, since the end of the Second World War. Let me give you a very interesting view of some data. I invite you to go to the MiddleEastMonitor.com and find this article if you are interested in this kind of question. It says the Iran war a great carbon emitter. So just to give you an idea about how the conventional wars are able to create something that can help this usual and normal trend of global warming, of the climate change, to be intensified, okay, to be stronger in order to, achieve its job, which is the end of life on Earth, sooner, much sooner than what had been predicted by the scientists, environmentalists, and so on. Let me give you a few data from this article. Very interesting report based on an study. For example, can you imagine that for the first 2 weeks of the war of Israel and the United States on Iran, which started on February 28th, during just 2 weeks, Israel and the United States produced some, attention the number, some 5 million tons of carbon dioxide. 5 million tons of carbon dioxide. How much is it? The report says that if you want to get a sense of proportion, you should know that it's much more than the whole carbon dioxide produced by the country called Iceland during 1 year. 1 year of the life of a few million people over there in Iceland, compared to 2 weeks of operation by these two countries, Israel and the United States of America. Another one, also interesting. This famous F-35 of the Lockheed Martin, when they go to a mission that takes something like 1.5 to 2 hours, they are using something in average 6,000 liters of fuels during just a single combat sortie. 6,000 liters. Okay? So if you want to have here an idea about how much it is, the emission of carbon dioxide that is generated by burning these 6,000 liters of fuel is something between 14 to 17 ton of dioxide carbons, and 14 to 17 tons of carbon dioxide is the equivalent of the lifespan of a conventional passenger vehicle. During 30 years, 40 years, a normal passenger vehicle is able to produce as much as carbon dioxide that F-35 just during one combat sortie that will take something around 1 hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours. Okay? So all the 35 of Lockheed Martin, according to the company, in 2024 generated something like 40 million tons of carbon dioxide. Right? Just to give you an idea about how they are adding to everything else, factory, plants, cars, and so on. Now, with this new business of the Zionist wars, endless wars, they are generating all of this. Another aspect, as we saw in the first videos that we have seen tonight, look at this. This is in Isfahan. And believe me or not, this is a huge clouds. Okay, so thanks to this kind of operation, which means completely destroying buildings, oil infrastructure, and anything else that they are destroying, they are adding a huge amount of dioxide carbons over there. And as you know, there are a lot of other activities in order to that, because they brought a lot of naval vessels over there, and the airplanes are working, and all the bombings, and so on and so on and so on. So now, can you imagine that once the war is over, for example, theoretically, just for the sake of argument, we know that there is no end for the wars that Israel triggers, right? These are the endless wars. But just imagine that there is something that is called reconstruction, right? Reconstruction. Here in this report, it says that because of this war, there would be a lot of reconstruction activity in 14 countries. Can you imagine that 14 countries have been more or less damaged? At the heart of that, Iran, with several trillion of dollars in the future necessary for reconstructing Iran, which will never happen. I am talking about it theoretically, but everything else from Cyprus to Azerbaijan, Iran, and then the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf, Iraq, and so on and so on. So they are talking about these countries and all the activities that are necessary for this construction, which are carbon dioxide generating, okay, in an intensive way. One part of this report is very interesting. because it goes for the region like Gaza. The authors note with grim awareness that, I am quoting, that the emissions arising from rebuilding Gaza and Lebanon after, sorry, I have to show you this one, the report. From rebuilding Gaza and Lebanon after the conflict will produce at least 24 times more than the emission from the war alone. So already the war was a source of producing millions and millions of tons of dioxide carbon, and now if you want, for the war that was in Gaza for 2 years, and then the destruction of Lebanon. Now, if you want to make the reconstruction, you have to produce the emission 24 times more, in order to do so. Again, another fact that is interesting. The carbon footprint of the first 15 months of Israel's campaign in Gaza, arising from direct war activities, according to a multi-authored study published in April last year, exceeded the annual emission of 36 individual countries and territories. Can you believe that? What Israel was doing over there during 15 months produced as much as dioxide carbon that 36 individual countries and territories. Okay? So, one part of the calculation is about the whole thing that happened in Gaza and war and the post-conflict related construction activity that would be necessary, hypothetically, because there won't be any reconstruction in Gaza. So imagine that all of these will create something like more than 32,000 tons of carbon dioxide, and it is equivalent of the annual emission of 102 countries. Okay? These are just the facts, and nobody cares about it. Why? Because it's a little technical, it's the numbers, and you have to translate it. You have to translate it into what is going to happen. I tried in another tweet that I published 1 or 2 days ago to do so. It's called Environmental Unbearable Damages. Okay? Here I am telling that now, because it's calculated how much the United States is paying for the environmental damage every year, something between $25 to $30 billion per year. I said that in my class, this is years ago, 2018. I remember I had a discussion with my students where I explained that I have a hypothesis. My hypothesis was very simple, and I formulated that here, and look at what is happening through the environmental degradation for economy. I said that we will be going toward the point where the financial cost of the environmental damage would equate to the growth of the GDP. Everything that we produce as the growth, economic growth, compared to the past year, would be effectively the equivalent of what we have to pay each year for the environmental damages, for what we call the extreme weather events, for example, right? And then, even more, in such a way that at the end of the day, the cost of production for many goods and services would be much higher than the loss of non-production, which means that anything you want for a lot of cases, goods and services, anything you want to get as profit thanks to your activity, investment, work, management, and so on, in order to produce something and sell it and get the profit, everything that you do will be completely lost. Why? Because you have to pay for the environmental negative aspects of your activity, either individually or collectively, as taxes or direct damage reparation, recompensation, and so on and so on. So, I developed 3 facts very rapidly. We are paying the financial cost of environmental degradation incrementally. Each year we are paying more and more and more and more at a national level, in the United States, or global level, right? 2, this trend cannot be stopped unless we turn it around fundamentally. I don't know how. I don't have any idea about how we can stop that. I believe firmly in the impossibility of stopping this process, this degrading, downgrading, destructive process. I don't think that there is any possibility to stop that. But maybe some other people, specialists and so on, have some idea about how we can stop it. All right. So that's why I said unless we do so. We will see. And third, if we don't stop that, which is, in my opinion, impossible to do, one day nothing of economic profit can be generated out of what we have to pay for the damage, the activity that is necessary for that profit cause to nature. At a given point in time, we reach, a critical point where everything that we do will cause more damages than profit. So it means that it doesn't work well to do, right? There is no point really to do so. It goes without saying that in such situation, it will be much more wiser, not to do anything, but doing the least activity that will cause a lot of damages to nature, and by by pushing back or fighting back by nature, it will cause a lot of damages to us. So that's why in this scheme here now we have something interesting. Incremental conventional wars can go, climate change, I think, would put an end sooner, earlier, than just the incremental conventional wars effect. But look at that. There is a bypass process here, which is, according to the numbers that we saw in that report for the current war, or the war in Gaza, what these conventional wars are generating will intensify, right? Will enhance, fortify the climate change negative aspects in such a way that this will be accelerated. So theoretically, we are supposed, for example, to have the first signs of what we call the environmental collapse from 2030 to 35, 40, theoretically, because before in 2015, for example, in Paris, they were discussing about the climate change and so on, and the perspective was in 2050. And now, because of a very accelerated degradation of the situation, they are talking about 2040, or some of them, the pessimist environmentalists, are talking about 2030. 2030 is in 4 years, So with what is happening right now from October 2003 in Gaza, and then in the whole Middle East, and now for 1 month and 1 day, in Iran and in the region, because don't forget that with bombing the infrastructures, that would be a huge part, a huge new intensified phase of war, and the destruction will be total in the region, because Iran will fight back, Iran will strike back all the infrastructures of the Arab countries, which is the total desire of Israel. And in this way, we are going to have a real catastrophe from the environmental point of view over there. Look at this. If the waters of the Arabian Gulf become radioactively contaminated, the country's water supply will run out within 3 days. Just 3 days. Can you believe that? We, Qatar, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait rely entirely on water desalination. This is what Iran will fight back with, hit back and destroy, desalination water station over there. And from that moment, in 3 days, all the inhabitants of these 3 countries won't have any possibility for having water, drinking water or whatsoever. The water supply will be completely, out of service. This is it. And don't forget, this process right now is getting going. It has already set in motion by the United States on the order of Israel. So it's a matter of a few hours or a few days that we enter in this critical phase of regional destruction. We are running up really all the negative aspects. As you can see, if you lay the foundation of the environmental apocalypse, everything is there. So that's why at the end I would like to conclude that we have a great chance that thanks to this process, we are going to have the end of life on the planet in a few years. If not, that would be the nuclear war. I think here we have a real possibility for ending it, because as I told you, the World War III with the atomic bombs will have this effect. That would be a kind of nuclear cloud that will create a bubble over the whole planet where there is no more oxygen. There is no more oxygen for the living being. That's why nobody can live nowhere on Earth. Humans, animals, plants, everything will be dead for several million to few billion years until these famous clouds, or bubble dissipate, disperse, goes away, and again Earth can have or can produce after million or billions of years oxygen in order maybe to have the new living being on Earth. And I hope next time when we are going to have all the evolution coming to intelligent being, I hope that the future intelligent being won't create Moses, Judaism, Zionism, the things like that. I hope so. I really hope so, because if they do so, they will have the same fate after a few thousands of years. Because some people says that this is not for the first time. They have already experienced that. That would be the same thing for a future. Let's hope that after us there won't be any more any place for Zionism, for the new generation of living being that will come on earth. Amen. See you in the next video, guys. Thank you.